Hi friends, hope you are doing well. I'm Dr. Ganguly. Welcome to my channel. So today I'm going to talk about some finance basics in India, and these are for students, UG students, master students and PhD students who essentially come to a university or join a new institution, and these will also be useful for junior faculty members who are starting off at some institution. Maybe they are returning to India from abroad and so on. So before I start, let me make a disclaimer that I am not a financial professional, and the points I am discussing are from my personal experience and those of people and students I know. So with that caveat, let's continue with point number 1. Now point number 1 is that you need to have some linkage with the banking system. So this means that essentially you need to go to a bank and start a savings account with the bank. So essentially, to start a savings account with the bank, you need to fill an application form and you need to give at least a couple of documents, that is your PAN card and the Aadhaar card. So if you have not obtained these documents, try your best to obtain these documents before you go to the bank. Now beside this, you will need some kind of proof of address, and this could be your passport if it actually contains the present place you stay, or it could be something else. You may obtain some letter from the university, or you may obtain electric bills or gas bills or phone bills, as the case may be. So now once you have got all these documents, you can go to the bank and ask these people that you want to set up a savings account there. Now if you are at a university, there is likely to be a bank situated on the campus, and this is very convenient for you. So therefore try to bank with this particular bank, and in most cases if you are in a government institution, this will be a state bank, so it will be an SBI branch. If you are in private institutions, you may have branches such as the HDFC or the ICICI Bank. So sometime you may also have presence of Kotak Bank or Axis Bank. So essentially any of the private sector banks may be there, or government bank may be there. Now whatever bank is there in your campus, it is best to bank with this particular bank. Now when you start a savings account, try to ensure that it has a low or zero minimum deposit rule, because as a student you don't have a lot of money, and therefore you don't want to tie up a lot of funds in a minimum deposit. So if they require you to have a 5,000 rupees minimum deposit, then that much money will essentially be sitting there in the bank, though the banks in India have to pay you some interest on the savings money which is lying there. Now once you have started this bank, the bank is going to give you two things which are important for you. One of these is of course a checkbook. Sometime they will also give you a passbook, and essentially the checkbook lets you transact on various things related to the bank. Now nowadays most of the payments are not actually made by check. You can do some kind of bank transfer. So if you are paying your rent, or if you are paying some bills in your credit card, you can essentially do these directly from the bank in the form of NEFT or RTGS transfers. Now what is more important is the debit or the ATM card, and essentially the debit card can be used in most places for shopping. So whether you are going to a mall, you are going out to eat at some restaurant, or you are going to the bookstore to buy an important book, you essentially can use your debit card there, and this prevents the need to carry cash around. Now one of the advantages of a debit card is that it is linked with some kind of payment system. For example, it may be the Rupay payment system which is valid in India, or it may be a Mastercard payment system which is valid around the world. So check out, in many cases the debit card can actually be used in foreign countries also. So if that is the case, then that will help you when you travel abroad for conferences, or you need to visit somewhere for some important task at short notice. So that was the first step, setting up the savings bank, and then we come to the next step, and this step is very important and many people forego this step, and this is how to get a credit card. Now one of the reasons it's very important to get a credit card is that before you have a credit card, your credit history is essentially blank and your credit score is basically not there. So you start building your credit by getting this credit card. Now most of the time the bank at your university or institution will have some credit card going with it. So essentially it's very simple to get a credit card from the institution where you are doing banking. So once you have been banking there for a few months, you can approach this bank and ask them for a credit card. So in this case you can get a credit card from the State Bank, from HDFC, from ICICI, from Axis Bank, from Kotak Bank. So many of these banks actually have a credit card which is specially set up for students, and it may have a lower limit in terms of your credit limit, but it is quite easy to get. Believe me, it's one of the simplest things at the point you are a student to get a credit card. Later in life it becomes much more complex. So again, you need the same kind of documentation to get your credit card as you essentially did for your savings bank account. And once you have your savings bank account, the bank is not going to ask you for further documentation in most cases, because they do have those documents, and if they don't have those documents, then again you have to give those documents. So I would suggest the same PAN card, Aadhaar card, passport, driver license if you have one, and so on. Now if you haven't got the driver license, I would certainly tell you to get a driver license, because it's always good to have a driver license. And also within the state, the driver license serves as a good way to present your name, your date of birth, and the place you stay. So this is something which can be very useful. Even if you are not regularly driving a car or you don't own a car, it's still possible to get a driver license in that case. Now one of the things you need to do is make regular payments on your credit card. So I would suggest you link your credit card with your savings bank so that the money is directly debited from your savings bank to your credit card. Now when you apply for the credit card, sometimes they ask for salary. So one of the best things is to give some estimate of your salary. If you are receiving money from your parents, which is there for most people, then you can give this amount of money as the typical salary you have. If you are getting a stipend, if you are a master student or a PhD student, you will typically be getting a scholarship, so this will be your salary. And in many cases, bachelor's degree student also get some kind of stipend. For example, if you are doing any of the bachelor's degree in systems which are sponsored through the KVPY, then you will be getting a scholarship. So you can use this as your salary, and then you can get the credit card. Now one of the things that will happen with credit card is that your CIBIL score will go up, and a CIBIL score of more than 700 is considered to be pretty good, and 750 is really very good. So if you get the credit card during your student life, or if you are a young faculty just returning to India, it's very important to get this credit card right now, because believe me, if you postpone this decision for 2-3 years, you cannot pace it up. So credit history takes time to build up, credit score takes time to build up. It needs a sequence of payments, no missed payments, and so on. And so later in life, when you are applying for a car loan or a home loan or a bike loan, this is going to be very useful to you that you have this credit score with you. Finally, I would say that very frequently, if you are a student, you may be asked to go to some foreign conference, or in fact what may happen is you may get an internship in summer to go to a foreign country. So this is nowadays very common, and in that case you may have to make a lot of reservations, travel bookings, and so on. And if you have a credit card, this is always very useful. So when applying for credit card, try to see that it covers foreign travel. And when you pay your bills regularly, what happens is that the credit limit goes up. So after a year or two, you may have a credit limit of 1 or 2 lakh rupees, and in that case that will cover the cost of buying air tickets and so on. Because generally when you want to buy these tickets, it's much easier to do it on credit card. You may not have 50,000 or 1 lakh in your savings bank to use your debit card at that point. And credit card is also more safe, because in case there is a fraudulent transaction on your credit card, you can call up the company and say, hey, there is this transaction, I didn't make it, and they're going to investigate that case. In contrast, if you charged all this on your debit card, then the money is actually gone, and it may be more difficult to recover this money in most cases. So that's why a credit card is a safe means of transaction when you are out of your home country, when you are making large purchases, and so on. Now credit cards also come with various facilities such as cashbacks. Sometimes they also cover insurance and many of these things. So you need to read the fine print of each credit card to know what are the benefits you are getting from these cards. So this was my point about finances in India. If you are a student in India, if you are a faculty returning from outside to India, if you are a foreigner visiting India, if you are a foreign student going to India for internship or a small period of time, or somebody going on sabbatical, then these two things are going to be very important for you. So how to set up a bank account. Remember, in India this is known as a savings account. In many foreign countries this is known as checking account, but in India this is a savings account. And so that's what you need to set up, and then you need to get your debit card through this savings account, and then later apply for a credit card, and then you are all set for your financial journey. So I hope this video was useful for you, and if it gets traction, I will make more videos on this kind of topic for people who are in the scholarly system. So I will end this video here, and I will see you in a video sometime soon. See you then.